The Rivian R2 is the most exciting EV of the year, but for a lot of you, it might be a deal breaker. I spent a day with it on highways, twisting mountain roads, and dirt trails outside Park City, Utah, and two things stand out that completely change how you think about this car. One is that they're going to sell millions of these, and the other is some of you are probably gonna walk away. By the way, shout out to my drive partner, David Kogan. We had a great time driving together, and a lot of these shots are courtesy of David's hardware, especially these drone shots that you see in the video. Let's start with the design because that's what hits you first. Rivian didn't mess with the formula here. The R2 keeps that two-box silhouette, the signature headlights, and the big wheels pushed out to the corners. Park it next to an R1 and the size difference hits you in the face, but the proportions still work great. Now, one detail I love is the rear drop glass. On the Performance and Premium, it lowers completely into the liftgate, so you can haul long stuff like surfboards without fighting the roofline. It's a classic Rivian move, and it is still here. Ground clearance sits at 9.6 inches, which is serious for a midsize SUV. The approach angle is 25 degrees and departure is 26, so it climbs over things you'd expect to scrape on. The wheels all share 32-inch overall diameter across every trim, which keeps the ride height consistent no matter which size you pick. Color options pulled a crowd favorite. Catalina Cove shifts from deep blue to green depending on the light, and it looks way better in person than in photos. Borealis is a metallic plum that is loud in what some would consider a good way. It's not for me. Launch Green is back as a limited edition on the launch package as well. Even the charge port door is shaped like a leaf. It's manual, not powered, but it's a cool little touch. But once you get inside, you'll find out Rivian made one design decision with the primary controls that might be the most controversial call in the whole car. So, on to the interior. The real test is how it handles the daily part of being an SUV. Open the door and you immediately see how they squeeze usable space out of a smaller footprint. This is the first place where you realize that the R2 isn't just some sort of budget cut. The front is 5.2 cubic feet, which is bigger than most rivals in this segment. You can fit a carry-on and a large backpack in there at the same time. There are dual glove boxes, which I don't think I've ever seen before. Door pockets that hold full-size water bottles and glasses, and a center console drawer. They actually thought about where you'd want to put stuff. The backseat has 40.4 inches of legroom, genuinely roomy even for people over 7 feet. The rear seat folds completely flat, and the total enclosed storage is 90.1 cubic feet. The materials hold up too. You get birchwood accents and an Adventex textile with at least 50% sustainable content, and it doesn't feel cheap. Now, the Haptic Halo wheels. Rivian designed these in-house, and the idea is clever. They scroll, push, and tilt to control volume and temperature and switch between modes without looking at the screen. And in practice, I found them to be pretty finicky. The idea is to give you tactile control without looking at the screen, as I said, but the resistance and the haptic clicks don't always line up with the UI. The notches feel kind of mushy, so I kept overshooting the temperature or volume by 2 or 3 clicks without realizing it. And for a primary input you're using while driving, that lack of precision is a problem. A physical dial gives you that immediate snap of feedback. These don't quite get there yet, but that said, this is the kind of thing that can be tuned through software, I believe, and I expect them to get this dialed in through future updates. Then there's the elephant in the room. Rivian has never supported CarPlay or Android Auto, and with the R2, they're doubling down on that call. Their native Google Maps, Apple Music, and Spotify integrations are genuinely good and even gives you spatial audio if you're an Apple Music user. But if you're used to plugging in your phone and having everything just work, this is a real gap. You're living in Rivian's ecosystem whether you like it or not. And that's a real trade-off. But there's a specific technical reason Rivian is betting the entire company on this software strategy. And when we get into the brain behind this car, it does actually make some sense. First, let's talk about what it feels like to drive. This thing drives like a Rivian, and that's the highest compliment I can give it. It's nearly 2,000 pounds lighter than the R1 and sits on a 115.6-inch wheelbase, so it feels nimble in corners and easy to thread through parking lots. You don't feel like you're piloting a massive truck, because you're not. The performance trim puts down 656 horsepower and goes from 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds. The 50 to 70 mile per hour pass is as quick as 1.5 seconds, and you can feel the car when you step on that accelerator. The semi-active suspension is only on the performance, but it tightens up when you're carving and softens when you're cruising. It handles both situations without making you choose. But here's where it gets interesting. Off-road, the R2 is legit. We took it up steep climbs, through creek crossings, and over loose gravel. The 25-degree approach and 26-degree departure angles meant we never scraped the nose or tail. And there were some instances where I thought we are very obviously gonna scratch up this truck. The torque vectoring helps you crawl without drama. The trail guys dropped our tire pressure and the truck just walked through everything. Now, I did also run into some production bugs. Apple Music would pause after about 30 to 45 seconds, and the volume slider on screen moved without the audio actually changing sometimes. The first time setup UI glitched when we were switching between mirror and seat adjustments. Now, these are production quirks, which is worth noting if you're expecting perfection at launch, because again, these are launch vehicles we were testing. The mechanical side is solid, but Rivian is betting the company on software. That's where the second big shift happens. Rivian OS 2.0 is a big step forward. The UI runs on a consolidated chip with 200 TOPS of AI compute, and the difference is obvious. Swiping is nearly lag-free, which was a pain point on earlier R1 builds. The vertical menu bar and floating panels make sense once you've spent 5 minutes with them. And one neat touch is the tire and wheel tracking. The system knows exactly which OE wheel and tire combo you have, and it logs rotations and mileage per corner. If you swap wheels for winter, you can reset the tracking individually. And that is the type of detail that car nerds are just gonna love. Navigation uses Google Maps with Rivian-specific range estimates and charging stops. There's also a weather widget with weekly forecasts, which sounds small until you're planning a mountain drive. The Rivian Assistant is Gemini powered and runs tasks locally using that compute, but it does start in the cloud. But the real story here is not gonna be the UI, it's the brain behind it. The R2 packs, again, 200 TOPS of edge AI compute fed by 11 external cameras and 5 radars, giving the car a full 360-degree view. Rivian calls their approach the large driving model, or LDM. Instead of following rigid if-then code, it's trained on hundreds of millions of real-world miles to understand the social contract of the road, driving more like a human and less like a robot. And in my testing, the hands-free system was fine. It felt good, but it felt closer to advanced cruise control than like a full co-pilot. It held the lane well on the highway, but it doesn't yet follow navigation or obey the map routes automatically, so I had to stay sharp. It's nowhere near Tesla's FSD point-to-point capability yet. The hardware is ready according to Rivian, but the software just needs time to catch up. Autonomy Plus is included for life on the launch package. Otherwise, it's $2,500 upfront or $50 a month with a 60-day trial on every new R2. So you can really try it out and get a feel for it before you decide to pay. Speaking of paying, let's talk money, because that's what decides if Rivian actually sells millions. The performance with launch package starts at $57,990 and arrives this week. That includes lifetime autonomy plus, the tow package rated for 4,400 pounds, a special green key fob, and the exclusive option to paint it launch green. For under $60,000, that is some serious hardware and a great deal on a Rivian. The premium trim lands at $53,990 later this year. You still get dual motor all-wheel drive with 450 horsepower, and it's probably the sweet spot for most buyers. The standard trim starts at $48,490 with rear-wheel drive and up to 345 miles of estimated range. That's early 2027 though. And if you're patient, a cheaper standard model arrives in summer 2027 at $44,990. Range drops to 275 miles, but that's the true mass market price Rivian promised. Every trim gets the North American Charging Standard port, which is the Tesla port, and access to the Tesla Supercharger network, plus Rivian's own Adventure network. Factor in the front size, the off-road angles, and the performance suspension, and again, the R2 does not feel like it was made as a budget cut. It feels like a smarter mass market package. In other words, the R2, in my opinion, is the real deal. If the R1 was the proof of concept that put Rivian on the map, the R2 is the takeover. It's the car that distills that high-end DNA into something that actually fits into a normal life and a normal budget. That's exactly why they're gonna sell millions of these vehicles. You'll have to live without CarPlay and accept some production software quirks for now, but behind the wheel, this is the most exciting EV of the year, period. But I wanna hear from you. Are you putting a deposit down for the Performance Launch Edition, or are you waiting for the $45,000 standard trim in 2027? Or are you just going with another vehicle altogether? I want to hear from you. Let me know down in the comments below, and I will meet you there for further discussion. But again, take it from me, this is an incredibly fun and functional car to drive. Thanks for watching as always, guys. I appreciate your support. I'm Andrew Edwards, and I will catch you in the next video.